Shepherd's pie. Greetings from the Philippines. Welcome back to the channel for a coffee and a chat on a less than happy day in the Speaking of Asia household, unfortunately. To say I am disappointed would be an understatement. To say I'm pretty pissed off would be far closer to the mark. Now, that's not primarily the reason why I'm making this video. Well, it probably is, but it's also as a word of caution, because what I'm about to talk about now, I think, amplifies the challenges of living in the Philippines, because every day something has the potential of blindsiding you. And this one really has. Even though in the back of my mind, I always thought there was a potential for this to happen, I had quietly convinced myself that I was being overly pessimistic. Don't worry about it until it happens. And it has happened. And it has literally happened overnight, which makes it all the more annoying, because there wasn't a gradual build up, there wasn't a warning. Now, what am I talking about? Well, talking about our new house and our new life. I might put a link to the house move in the bottom of the description if anyone is interested where we live. But anyone who's watched the channel will know a couple of months ago we moved to a new house in Bekong. Didn't move far, but we moved to a new gaff. And we were very happy about the find for several reasons. Primarily, though, it was the location and it was the peace and quiet. This place has literally been an oasis, more or less bang in the middle of the city. I could not believe how quiet it was here. And, you know, a few friends have visited who've lived in Dumaguete for like 20 plus years, and they were amazed how quiet it was here. And that was a huge selling point. It wasn't the only selling point. The fact that we liked the house, the fact that the location was good, the fact we had a concrete road, which is, you know, what we wanted. It ticked a lot of boxes. But the peace and quiet was a massive one. No karaoke here and no roosters. And again, if you've watched the channel, you'll know the last place we lived in, from day one, basically, the roosters became more and more of a problem every day. Started off, there was just a couple in the house opposite. By the time we left, there was a rooster farm just across the way. The house opposite us had like 7 or 8. The whole thing got out of hand. And it was one of the reasons why we decided to move. We came here and it was the peace and quiet. And I was given assurances. Not assurances and guarantees, but the fact that we were living in a subdivision, we asked the landlord and we asked some of the neighbours, was it always this quiet? And they said it was. And from what I can ascertain, it always has been. However, the other day, about 4 or 5 days ago, I was out walking up the road and I could hear some roosters. And I thought, that's unusual. You don't hear roosters here. I thought they might be over the way. But the next day, I heard more and more of them. And I thought, this doesn't make any sense. Where is this noise coming from? And then suddenly, I was struck with the realization of this. So what am I alluding to? I'm alluding to this. Our neighbours, God bless them, have decided to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, Our neighbours, God bless them, have decided that they are going to pack the area with roosters. And all of this is right next to there, which is basically very close to our bedroom. Dogs aren't being much use. You're not helping, are you, mate? But yeah, it has completely changed things. And I don't think it would be an exaggeration to say it is a real pisser. You think it's a pisser, don't you? You think it's a pisser. Yeah, not happy chaps. Not happy at all. So basically, there you go. Our immediate next door neighbour has decided overnight to turn his house into, I don't know what it is. I counted 12 roosters, whether he's a rooster farm. I don't know what you would call it, but there are roosters everywhere and they are noisy and it is annoying. And had they been here when we moved in, would we have moved here? I don't know. We might have done, but it really has put a right downer on our thoughts on living here now. But we've signed a contract and we'll honour it. We're not, I'm not the kind of guy who's just going to break the contract because of something like this. And there is light at the end of the tunnel, as I will go on to explain. But the reason I'm making this video is because it just demonstrates very succinctly what life is like in the Philippines. You just never know, and it's why the vast majority of my expat friends over here haven't built houses, have chosen to rent, the ones that have been here longer term, because you just don't know what you're getting yourself into. You never know if you move in a condominium, what rules are going to change, who your neighbours are going to be, where the noise is going to come from. You move into a place like this, you will have no idea who's going to be living next to you the following day. Speaking of which, our neighbour Patrick, Bigfoot in the Philippines, he's moving, he's leaving tomorrow. So we have a new neighbour arriving. Not met him yet, hopefully a good chap. Who knows? But the point is, you never know who you're going to be living with. And the reality is, I don't like to say this in a disparaging way about the Philippines or the Filipino people. I am very much aware I'm a guest in this country, but I have been astounded, almost flabbergasted since I moved to the Philippines. The basic lack of respect that people seem to have for other people's privacy, peace and quiet, etc. It just does not seem to be a thing over here. I think it's probably because it's not a confrontational country. People don't like to say anything because it annoys them. I mean, it annoys Ellen. Ellen is probably more annoyed about what's happened than I am, but she won't say anything to the neighbours. And this is why I find this so annoying that it has happened, because it kind of puts me, I feel, because I like to think of myself as being a reasonable chap. It has taken me a week to decide to make this video, and it's taken me a week to raise the issue with our landlord, because I kind of have the thought process, well, it's the Philippines, it's not my country, it's just the way it should be. You know, that's how they want it, you know, who am I to argue? But then another part of me says, well, wait a minute, you're paying rent, you know, you're living here, if you're paying rent, you've got certain entitlements, you know, to peace and quiet. I started questioning our dogs. Anyone who watches the channel will know we have a couple of dogs. Didn't intentionally have dogs. Unbeknown to us, they came with a house. But we now think of them as our dogs. We clothe them, we feed them, all those good things. So I am cognizant of when they bark at people and the noise they might make. So my first reaction when I saw the roosters was, well, first reaction when I thought there were three to start off with. I didn't realise there were so many until yesterday. I started thinking, well, maybe our dogs are a problem. Maybe have I got the right to complain because we've got dogs and our dogs bark from time to time, not often. You know, it's the way I think. Last night, she's over here, she's probably going to snap at me. Ellen was singing. She likes to sing sometimes. She's singing away to her phone. And I was like, you know, well, keep it down. You might disturb somebody. I doubt she was. but that's just the way I think as a Westerner, or someone from the UK. I don't know if it applies to every country, Western country, but yeah, I do not want to infringe on other people's peace and quiet. Their private time when they're in their homes. But that really, sadly, does not seem to be a thing in the Philippines. And it's why I say I have no intention at any stage in the near future building or buying a property over here, because you just don't know what to do. But I am very much, when we first moved here, there were a number of empty houses just up there. They have now filled in with Filipino people. And there's a little bit of noise because they're doing building and things, which is fair enough. It is what it is. But when people started arriving, and when that house became occupied, I did start to think, what if it gets noisy? I'm more likely to make a fuss this time, because when we moved into our last house, most of the people in that village had probably been there all their lives. They're into cockfighting, whatever they call it over here. I personally think it's barbaric, but it is the culture, sadly. So who am I to complain? It's their house. They were here first. But here, I did have an element, which is why I'm annoyed now, of thinking, well, wait a minute. We have moved here because it's quiet. We love the quiet. Our neighbours love the quiet, as in the Western neighbours. So I don't think it's reasonable, even though they are Filipinos rather, that they come in and make a lot of noise. And thankfully, they haven't done. And what little interaction I've had with the neighbours next door who have the roosters, they're very polite, they're very friendly, and that's what makes it harder. But yeah. Now, there is, however, light at the end of the tunnel. Because I contacted our landlord, who is a very nice chap, very proactive. He's actually been wonderful since we moved in. It's amazing because we've had a few little problems here in the house, and he is so hands-on, it's unbelievable. And all I did was message him and say, look, are there any regulations or rules here? Because we do live in a subdivision regarding roosters and the keeping of roosters. Because I hadn't seen any until they suddenly multiplied next door. And he said, why? And I said, well, because there are some roosters in the house next door. The people next door have got some roosters. And he said, really? That shouldn't be happening. How many? And I told him, I said, well, I'm not sure exactly how many, but there's quite a lot. And he said, are you sure they're actually, next door to you? Because they are. These things are basically by our jacuzzi, which, if anyone has watched the video, you know we have a bedroom that opens onto the jacuzzi. So there's only 2 pieces of glass in between us and the roosters. And the cages are more or less under our window. So I made a video and I showed it to him. I sent it to him. Now, at this stage, I wasn't necessarily going to make an argument. I was kind of taking the view that if there was nothing in the subdivision rules, that there wasn't really anything we could do. But if there was a rule and it did say you couldn't somewhere in the rules, then I may well perhaps resolve to go and see the barangay captain and say, look, you're not supposed to have roosters here, 1 or 2, but surely not this many. But I don't know if I'd have done that. It's like it's the Britishness in me. You don't want to rock the boat, particularly with neighbours. You want to be neighbourly. But fortunately, he was more angry than I was, I think. He said basically that they're renting. He knows the owner, and he's going to get it sorted and not to worry about it. It's totally unacceptable. This is a subdivision. It's not a farm. They shouldn't be there. Now, I don't know what is going to happen next. I have no idea how this is going to evolve in terms of whether they really will be gone within a week. I'm not sure what he's going to do. I am hoping that it is not going to cause friction between us and the neighbours, because I'm sure in their mind they are doing nothing wrong. I'm sure they'll probably be thinking, who the hell are these farangs, afams, whatever you want to call them, to come here and, complain and make a fuss in my country. And I can see where they're coming from. I can see people would say that in the West, but I try and take a step back. I look at it reasonably and think, well, wait a minute. This is a subdivision. No one else has them. You know, there must be a reason for that. You know, that is primarily one of the reasons why we moved here. Even though I'm a guest in this country, Ellen's not. She's a Filipina. She's not happy about it. I think it's unreasonable. I do, particularly that many, and you've got no idea when it's going to stop in terms of how many tomorrow. Will there be another 10? Because it is extraordinary how quickly they've multiplied. I literally glanced out the window when I first realised where the noise was coming from, and there was two in those little black huts that they keep them under, tied to the string. And I heard noise, and I thought there's more than that. And I saw the guy come, and he got some out of a cage. So I thought maybe there's 3 or 4. But you've seen the video. I mean, literally, the house is swarming with them now. It is what it is. But as I say, yeah, I am annoyed about it. I'm pissed off because I kind of always knew it was going to happen. And that is the trouble with the Philippines, which is why it might not be for everybody. I'm not talking about the roosters. I know there are bigger problems in the world. But the point is, I do find myself every day thinking, what's coming next? What is the next challenge going to be? When is the internet going to go again? Or when are we going to have an extended brownout or something like that? And that seems to be wherever you move. I know some people are going to say, in the comments, you're being cheap living there, and you need to move here, you need to move there, you need to be in a gated community. And I really don't want to be in a gated community. I was happy where we were. We were both very happy in this house, and foolishly, I thought moving to a subdivision. And, the guy who I rent for has been living here a couple of years. He said this has never happened before, so hopefully the powers that be will be outraged too, and they will think it's unacceptable. So it's going to be a question of watch this space, but it is just irritating that you are put in this position that, you would like to think that they would have enough self-awareness, enough respect not to do it, and not kind of put us in a position where we have to feel uncomfortable, about rocking the boat. But that is the Philippines, it is, I mean, what's next? The karaoke? Never heard any karaoke all the time we've been here, but that could change tomorrow. I mean, these new houses, when they finish building, you don't know who's going to move in there. I mean, it is what it is, folks. It's the Philippines, and yeah. But overall, it has not put us off the house, even if they stayed the way they were. I'm hoping not. You got to look at the positives. They're still not as noisy as they were in the last place, even though they're so close. And the pros of this place still far outweigh our last place, even though we were quite happy at the last place. When we had the tornado the other day, typhoon, the electricity went off for about 3 minutes and then came back on again. A couple of times the internet has gone down for like a minute in the last few weeks. So compared to the last place, and plus we're more comfortable here, didn't have a jacuzzi in the last place. We're still happy here, but it has cast a shadow over living here at the moment, and we will stay. We're not. As I said, landlord, not like going to leave or anything, or make a fuss about that. It's not your fault. But fortunately, he seems to think it is his fault, as in like he's responsible and he's going to sort it out, which I am very grateful for. But it has tempered things. Don't like the idea of him keeping them, but equally I don't like the idea that someone's going to potentially come around and tell him to get rid of them, and it's going to really screw things up for him. I just wish they hadn't done it, and and it's been a few things. It's like since I don't know how long they've lived there. They're renting. I don't know when they arrived, but for some reason they insist on sitting out at night and drinking, even though they've got a house. Just a group of guys talking. But I mean, it is what it is. I don't know. It's not our subdivision. It's not the Speaking of Asia subdivision. You've got to live and let live. And we are planning on having a barbecue in a few weeks' time. I mean, so that might disturb a few people. Maybe I'll have a word with him and I'll buy his chickens, and we'll have the roosters for the barbecue. Who knows? Anyway, I've said enough. I will let people know how it evolves. If you think I'm making a mountain out of a molehill, well, okay, fine. If you're going to come out with your crap about, it's the Philippines, you've got so much to learn, blah, 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 don't bother. You're just wasting your breath. But it is what it is. If you're thinking of moving here, be prepared for stuff like this because it will happen. It will happen. Might not be roosters. It might be karaoke. It might be God knows what it could be, but you will face challenges here. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed, it would be fantastic if you did. But whether you do or whether you don't, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, stay safe and be lucky.